issue tracker system, every bug report has an ID. So when a user commits a code, then you want to add the ID when you're committing. And then you have a link between Bamboo and Jira. This link, if something fails, if the tests are failing or something in the code on the build server, you can view it here. You can view exactly what the change was made by clicking the link, and you receive information about it in Jira. What was the change that bug description? And in Jira, you can click on the source, so you can go into a product called FishEye, and then you can see exactly what was changed. The current version in subversion and the previous one. So you can compare the information about what the developer was changing, but you can also see in FishEye all the history that the developer has made. You can view it as you can view the previous version and comments he makes and what files have changed. We program our code in Java, and we use Ant as our build tool. There are multiple other tools as well, but Ant fulfills our needs. And you can do a lot of things there. You can run the unit test, you can compile the code, package it, and deploy to a test server. But it's not recommended that you use the Ant tool for deploying things, because you like to have the deployment on the test servers as same as you do on the production system. And the key is to keep it consistent, that you do exactly the same on the test system as you do on production. Deployment, configuration, and all the stuff. The key issue in continuous integration is unit test. The unit test, you need to be able to verify that some code that you check in doesn't break all the code. And we are always addressing this over again to focus on people that to use the unit test to verify the code. But there are other tools as well that you can execute, and that is static analysis tools. We use a tool called FindBugs. It's a freeware to verify Java code. It tests the code without executing it. Finds mainly mistakes that a developer does in the code. This is something that you can do while developing code, and also view on the build server later on, a report about all the code that is in the system. Code coverage. Clover and Cobertura are two types of code coverage tools. These tools have a good meaning for us to show us where in the code is not being unit tested. And the unit test, it doesn't say like if you have a code coverage of 100% that no errors are in the code, because the unit test can be defined in a wrong way. But these tools like static analysis and code coverage can help you to identify the issues before you are deploying it on a production system. And regarding the test environment, we have like I mentioned before, the automate server installation, server configuration, deployment. The part that I showed you on the picture earlier is that nothing is done manually from the time that the developer checks the code until it is deployed on the server. And we are doing exactly the same thing on the test environment and the production system. We keep like in the version control, keep the configuration and all that part regarding the server in the version control system as well. You don't need to store it in some different location. This is treated exactly the same as a product. And deployment. This is needs to be taken into account like a project as the code itself. This is very important because we want to have the consistency of you always still delivering the same thing. But you have to start somewhere, and there are these small things that matter, and that is when you are doing, you need to identify what things you are repeatedly doing. You are doing, maybe copying two files with different locations, restarting some services, but just sit down for a while, look at it and see how can I automate it. Can I, like here, we have some 3 actions that we are making, but we can make it into a single action. If you're doing this 5, 10 times a day, by time it will be help you a lot and spend the time in doing some more important things. This is mainly what I wanted to talk to you today. We just want to thank you, and if you have any questions for the project management or about the continuous integration.
I have a question for the project management gentleman.
Yeah, great.
I was curious what size iterations, what length are your iterations, and what the size of your teams?
The teams are around 5 to 7, 8 people, but there are actually cases where we have run teams to up to 10 people. We just assess, for each project we assess the case at hand and take it from there. The other question you asked was the length of the iteration. Basically, we allow each team to decide for themselves. I mean, each team has the authority to decide. But I think most teams are running 2 weeks iterations, and I mean the team I'm working with has sometimes run 3 weeks iterations just because we could complete everything within 3 weeks, and we just decide when there's a in each case.
Because it's just what this is leading up to is the detail on your user stories is quite admirable. I'm curious how long it takes a team to plan an iteration in sprint planning or what to get this level of detail on your user stories.
Right. I mean, I think it's the concept of using the planning meetings itself to find out all the answers. That is the wrong place and time to do that. But so we have pre-planning meetings. We have meetings where part of the teams are meeting with the project owner, with the stakeholders, and discussing with them. Okay, next iteration, we want to take one step. What is it within the next iteration that you want us to do? So when we go into the planning meeting, we actually have everything pretty much spec'd out. We know exactly what we're going to do. It's only these things here. Everything else will be left for upcoming iterations. So this is how we can accurately estimate and commit to the stories. Your point is really good because this question is coming up again and again. People are always looking at the planning meeting as the only venue for speccing out the details, and somehow think that okay, Agile leaves out the planning, but it's not. You cannot.
In an ideal world, you will have that. You will always have that detail on your stories when you arrive at the iteration planning.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's uncertainty,
right?
And so inevitably your sprint plan will involve a little bit of specking out or further detail on a story.
Right. So I mean the backlog is just has a level of different uncertainties. During the top, you have much less uncertainty. During the lower bottom, you have more. So as the stories approach the top, you're always working with the project owner, getting answered questions, and getting feedback from the development that is taking place. So this is how it works, or this is what we think is the right way to make this happen. It doesn't happen in a one long iteration planning meeting. I tried that. any other